Okay, so you've chosen to be a rage tank, the recovery tank. So we'll touch on the primary mechanics here before we get into it. So with rage, you gain 20% health, 50% defense while not blocking, and you gain a mechanic called Scar Tissue. Scar Tissue is going to be as your combo meter increases, which is doing like weapon attacks, power combos. As that increases up to, it technically includes 13, which I'll show you in the examples, but you gain health equal to a percentage of your dominance, up to 50% of it. And then the other main mechanic is going to be Severe Punishment, which is your enraged mechanic. So with that, you gain 10% control resistance and heal back a portion of damage taken, which, if memory serves, is 85%. I could be wrong on that, so you can correct me in the comment section, but I'm fairly sure it's 85%. The damage taken for 88 seconds, after which you will rage crash, which just means all the damage you healed, you'll take back in one shot, which basically kills you unless you cancel, which I'll cover as well. The secondary mechanic is the Fervor mechanic. That one just increases your defense by 45% while not blocking, as long as you have Fervor active. And there's a couple of mechanics, like for example, Redirected Rage. When you pop that shield, which will be towards the bottom. I'm drawing a blank. Where did Redirected Rage go? I just went by it a couple times. Excuse my ignorance. But yeah, it increases by just popping the shield. It immediately grants you Fervor. So that's just an example of that, as well as it being a shield. So let's touch on the skill points here. So with Rage, even though you're going to be using your powers consistently, just like Atomic, I personally always will take Hybrid because I want the stats. And Rage, you're still attacking with your weapon to keep your combo meter up. So there's plenty of opportunity for you to regen with your weapon combos and with your powers. And then as well as taking that extra 5% dominance, which will be in turn increase your health. And I mean, in raids, you have the controller pot, power over time. In alerts, you have the controller passive power return. In solo content, you don't have to worry about that. You get those power bubbles back when you kill an enemy. So, I mean, it doesn't really be an issue. So, with this, because the rage heals are mechanic base, so the severe punishment heals are mechanic base, has nothing to do with your resto. All you want to do is spec 10 to get to the next tree. The only heal this would impact would be Ire, and I'll touch on that when we talk about the loadout section. But I mean, most tanks, rage tanks, don't even run Ire, so there's nothing that besides your soda that these would affect. And then even if you run the artifact soda, it's 100% health recovery anyway. So I mean, there's nothing. And then with rage, it's all health pool. So with rage, you want as high as health pool as you can get. There's one situation or one scenario with an artifact where you can go one way, you can go another. I'll touch on that in the artifact section, but when you're speccing for rage tank, it's all health. After that, it's going to be dominance, but we want to make sure we take the primary ones first. So iconic powers, we will be taking hard light shield. You can take Amazon deflection. I personally don't like this as rage because it throws off your timing, but it's certainly as an option as well. If you want to like spam supercharges, you can take Pheromone Bloom. Once again, it's not going to help you as rage, but it's going to help you just spam supercharge. In terms of super speed, you want to make sure you take dash attack and take your iconic innates. You can also spec phase dodge as well. I mean, in regular and elite content, it's very rare that you can be eating phase dodge. Phase dodge is more for those like really severe scenarios where you have to take a lot of damage in a fraction of time, like survival mode, stuff like that. It's very rare that you actually use phase dodge in regular content. In terms of your weapon tree, once again, you're using a weapon that you want to be familiar with. It could be one-handed, could be shield, martial arts, staff, doesn't really matter. I prefer something that has a fast and quick lunge, which will be one-handed. And because I need to keep a combo meter up, I'd rather take at least down to flip slash. It just helps me keep my combos up. Once again, you don't have to. You could spec into cleave, spin slash if you want, or in the weapon master. You can even take weapon master as rage if you wanted. But I prefer just keeping these 5. Okay, and then you put everything else into dominance. Obviously, with the glitch skill points here, I could put the 295 in there, but for speccing's sake, I'll put 150. but because you won't be able to max out. You'll may almost be able to max out both, depending if your max skill points, which would be close to like 670 now or something like that. But that's why I'm not going to spec the rest there, because obviously that would not be a realistic scenario. So, in terms of gear mods for Rage, we can get rid of these. In terms of weapon, it's going to be Absorption Adapter. And it would appear that I'm being attacked. This is what I get for sightseeing. Back to the video. For the helmet, once again, this is really only going to be running a supercharge. I personally don't like running a supercharge as Rage unless it's like very, very required, which will be in very select elite scenarios. But in that case, you'd be running like Perfect Poise, or you'd be running like Dash Attack. But that's really all you require for a head mod. So where was Dash Attack there? It just depends on what you're spec'd. Or if you're running Gemini to spam Supercharge for the group, then yeah, you'd run the head mod for that. Neck mod is always going to be Fortified Assault.
When I find the lanterns responsible for this, I will send those fools into an inescapable horror.
Back mod is always going to be Accelerated Redirected Rage. That is your main tank shield as Rage, as well as it grants Fervor, which gives you that extra defense, compared to like running Hardlight Shield, which won't give you that extra defense. In terms of chest mod, always going to be Hardy because you want that health increase. Leg mod, you're not going to be using any of these powers as Rage tank anyway, and they don't scale anymore, so just ditch it. Leg mods are completely useless in game. Hand mods, once again, regenerative shielding is not going to scale whatsoever. You don't need mighty smashing. You're not using any channel powers. You're not gadgets or mental, so just take max damage. And her foot mod is going to be Tumbling Mastery. Basically just makes your dodge roll not vulnerable to interrupt, as well as it gives you, you get to cover some greater distance. So, in terms of artifacts for Rage, once again, it's always going to be Manacles of Force. That's going to be your primary artifact, especially at 200. Reduces Redirected Rage and resets it, as well as it gives you the Manacles proc, which, I mean, Manacles can proc a little bit more often. Oh, looks like we're getting attacked again. These guys, oh, he actually took 2 hits. These things won't learn. So, back to the video again. Sorry for the constant interruptions. Yeah, so Manacle proc could proc more consistently because Rage, you're going to be having a lot of spikes in health. Even though you're going to get the health recovered, you don't have to worry about that. It just kind of saves you from... Basically, Manacles is there to save you from one shot. It's not necessarily required as Rage. You can't control when it's going to proc. Say, if you were like Atomic, or... Actually, Atomic's a bad example. If you're like Earth or Ice, you can pretty much control when you're going to get a Manacle proc. Rage, it'll happen a little more often, depending on the situation. But once again, it's there to reset your shield, and then the Manacle proc. Mystic is nice, gives you some more passive healing, gives you more passive defense. It's basically just there because of the 5% health and the base stats. It's not required because you're going to heal back that health anyway, but I mean there is that 15% gap that you're not healing, so at least it gives you some passive healing. And if you're surrounded by ads, I mean Rage tanking already is one of the best tanks for multiple ads, but now you get some extra defense out of it as well. So the third artifact, you have some choices. Some people run Distal Refractor, which is basically, it gives you that extra health bonus. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's an older artifact as well. My thought process with Everyman Prototype and why I run it as Rage, you already have some of the highest health pool as Rage compared to other tanks because you got the severe punishment, the scar tissue mechanic. You get the extra 20% base health. So your health pool is so large. And you're always dipping in health because you get that heal back. So say you're taking massive damage, your health is low, you're going to get that healing back in a few seconds because it's delayed. But the advantage is that you're not going to die in those few seconds that it's delayed because you're proccing in the lower ranges of Everyman. And because your health is so high, you get that converted to your defense. So your defense goes through the roof because you're high health pool, because you're at lower damage. So even though being at 30% health as rage is not really much of an issue because you're going to heal back all the damage you took in a few seconds. At least for those few seconds, you got that extra defense. So that's my thought process behind it. It's also a 5% health artifact. That's why I feel like it's more beneficial to rage than the Distal Refractor, but you can run both. It's not a huge difference, but since I have Nth Metal into Everyman, I'm not going to go out and level Refractor just for rage. Definitely not. The other option always is going to be Gemini if you're running a shield. So, if you're running a supercharge. If you're running a supercharge, you should be running Gemini because you get the extra health and the dominance as well, which will not only help you, but also helps the group with the supercharge recovery regen. So if you're running a supercharge in any tank build, you should always look into having either Gemini in that loadout slot. So, with Augments, once again, it's going to be dominance based and the adaptive one, so these are episode specific, so these could change depending on what DLC episode you're at, but it should always be dominating. And then, like I said, this may look a little bit different because I'm a Superman mentor. If you're Batman or Wonder Woman, this may look a bit different, but it's going to be the same type. It's going to be dominating in both the adaptive and the origin augments. But then the augments themselves may look a little bit different depending on what episode you're in. In terms of consumables, this one you're taking all natural. Now you may think you want to take a bulldozer soda because it increases your dominance, which then increases your scar tissue mechanic. But in this case, as rage, you want the highest health pool you can have. The higher the health pool, the more survivability you have. So the more health you have as your health pool, the more damage you can take that's going to get healed back. So that's why you're always going to be taking an all natural soda with rage to buff yourself. Chronomatic emitters are going to be your stun because rage, like ice, doesn't have any natural stuns whatsoever. It's got pulls and knockdowns, but it doesn't really have any stuns, so you use chronomatic emitters to substitute for that. And then we got personal dampening fields. Once again, not necessary. It's just basically a substitute for shields, not based on base shield multipliers. It's based on fixed damage absorption, so it's just handy to have. It also clips. Longer cooldown, 45 seconds, but it's just one of those handy consumables to have. So if you want to have a consumable as a tank, make sure you have those three: all natural, chronomatic emitters, and personal dampening fields as a rage tank. Okay, so to go along with your orbital strike and your supply drop and your health tank trinket, all your regulars, is going to be a breakout trinket. So I can't speak to the Hall of Doom, but if you're in the Watchtower or any of the vendors, go to the vendor here. You're looking for right here. I mean, it's going to be different names, but I mean, what you're looking for is, let me trick it here. You're looking for the Breakout, 30% control resistance, self 20 seconds. So any trinket that says that's going to be your Breakout trinket. That's going to come in very handy. Doesn't matter if it's for the tank roll. It could be tank roll, DPS roll. As long as you can equip it, it's fine. The stats are irrelevant. You just want it for the Breakout. And that is going to be everything else. So this is very handy as rage because primarily as rage, once we touch on the kind of loadout and rotation, when you're in severe punishment and you have to cancel rage crash, if you are stunned and can't cancel, then you're dead. I mean, you're gonna rage crash. You're gonna take that massive damage all at once. If a healer doesn't have like a Page of Destiny proc on you or like a orb heal from you, you're gonna die. It's very important that you've broken out of all control effects when you have to rage cancel. That's why some tanks tank Ire. Ire I feel is a useless power. Well, not useless power, but it's a useless loadout slot because all you're using it for is just the breakout. The heal is not good. You rarely need a group immunity. I'll touch on that more in the loadout slot, but this is why as rage, the breakout trinket is probably the most important trinket you have, because if you're in a situation where you need to break out, because you're stunned or controlled and need to rage cancel, you can break out and then cancel right away. So it gives you that immunity. So that's why it's very important. You can find it on pretty much any vendor. Just look for that description there. And then conveniently, since we're in the tech wing, if we jump over here, I'm not sure where it is in the Hall of Doom. Someone can mention it in the comments section, but we're looking here. Now these are going to be your Affinity Mod bonuses. So this is only if you're going to look into getting elite gear. So either 2, 4, 6, or 8 pieces of elite gear. Primarily, we're looking at the 2 and 4 pieces. So health, we get to take health 1. And we get to take health B. And these will give us a total of 2% extra health. So it goes towards that health pool as rage. And then, I mean, technically, Rejuvenating Escape's not going to work. I mean, unless you're running Ire, it's a good breakout, you get a small heal. I mean, you don't need that as Rage, that's redundant. Auto Breakout, once again, that'd be handy as Rage, just in case you have the Rage Crash, but you're not controlling it. Plus, you have mechanics and raids that sometimes are a bit negative to that. I mean, there's Shift-Footed where you get extra control resistance. I mean, you could run that. But, I mean, I'm not telling you to get 8 pieces of Elite Gear. I know that's not realistic for everyone watching this and everyone tanking. But at least if you can get 4 pieces of Elite Gear, you get that 2% extra health. So, let's jump to the layer, and I'll show you what gen mods to take. Okay, so in terms of generator mods, obviously it's going to be health. I mean, your alternative power, which is you don't need. So, always health is going to be your blues. In support, it's going to be dominance, which will tie into that Scartation mechanic. And then looking to put health in your Affinity Mods. And 6 and 8 doesn't matter. So that's what your generated mods are going to look like for a Rage. Okay, so for a loadout for Rage, you're looking at about 2 variations, just depending on one is going to be more of like a generic loadout if there's going to be any kind of ads, or if you're looking for like a strictly boss loadout with no ads. So we got Ragebringer. It's going to be the first power regardless. I wouldn't say regardless. If you, similar to a lot of the tank power sets, if you're looking for a hard taunt, the Rage hard taunt power is going to be, let me go back here, is going to be right here, Rage Blast. Not ideal. It's a projectile. I hate projectile based hard taunts just because the projectile can miss. You can hit another target. It's not reliable. That's why a lot of tanks will spec Mesmerizing Lasso. So if you're in a situation A with 2 tanks, you need Lasso just to separate an ad or aggro a boss. I wouldn't use Lasso in a situation where there's more than one target. It's just if it's if there's 2 boss fights, 2 tanks, multiple tanks, separating ads, or if there's just one boss and you need to proc something. Even if you are running Refractor, you still need to proc a pull, similar to Ragebringer. Ragebringer's going to be AoE pull. But Ragebringer does have a couple powers here with Rage. If you read the description, it'll say you receive healing equal to a portion of the damage dealt. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. It does help to compensate for the 15% damage that you are not healing back with the Enraged mechanic. The next power is going to be technically the second most in power is Rage, Severe Punishment. That launches into Fervor. It also gives you the Enraged status. So, next power after that is going to be your primary attack with ads. Once again, you'll see here, receive equal healing to a portion of the damage dealt, but I mean, you're not specking for power here. But this, Without Mercy, is basically just going to be a pull, kind of like Epicenter, dragging all the ads in, and then it also gives you a knockdown effect. So that's really the only CC Rage has. It's nothing amazing, but you basically compensate with that with a Chronomatic Emitter. Just pull all the ads in, stun them, then you're good. So next power is going to be a Rage Crash Cancel. So basically, if you look at the Rage loadout here, powers in general. So you got Eviscerating Chain, you've got Outrage, you've got Dreadful Blast. Is there another one here? Revenge? Nope. I thought it was Revenge. Yeah. And Revenge as well. So all these powers cancel Rage Crash. So basically after... basically show it here. So I'm in Rage. When I get to about 75%, the heartbeat speeds up, and then I would crash right there. So it's about the 75% or the 9 o'clock mark. That is when you're going to Rage Crash. So if you hit up one of these Rage Cancel powers before that, which I'll touch on the rotation to show you an actual example of it here, but if you use one of those powers, you cancel that Rage Crash so you don't take all that damage back. The disadvantage to Outrage and Revenge, those are melee-based ones. You're going to lunge into your target, which is not what you want. And then Dreadful Blast is Vulnerable Interrupt. So really, you don't want to be countered when you're trying to Rage Cast Cancel. So that's why you take E-Chain or Eviscerating Chain. E-Chain itself is the finisher. Not that we have to worry about that, but E-Chain has 2 basically powers. So I would hit E-Chain. That's the regular chain itself. Or if I hold melee, it gives that move. So the second part, the hold melee eviscerate, this is vulnerable to block. So while it does extend the duration of Rage Crash, so say you hit Rage Crash a little bit too early, then you could, yes, hit eviscerating to cancel Rage Crash. It buys you an extra couple seconds. Ideally, you just want to hit E-Chain. Why? Because you're vulnerable to block. If you got a bunch of ads and you're canceling Rage, and then you get knocked down because you just you held eviscerating chain too long, you get knocked down. Then you're knocked on your butt. You can't get into severe punishments. You have to hit a shield. You're susceptible to damage. So that's why it is 9.9 times out of 10. Do not hit the second part of the hold melee on eviscerating chain. You do not want to do that under any circumstances, unless for some fluke reason you hit E-Chain too early. But I mean, that's just a practice makes perfect kind of situation. So our next two powers are going to be shields. So redirected rage gives us fervor. If I can find the icon. Nope. That's violence. I'm drawing a blank here. Why can't I see it? Because I'm blind. Redirected rage. Yeah, so excuse my poor eyesight. Redirect rage, your primary shield, 18 seconds, gives you fervor. I mean, it's got a tiny bit of reflect to it, but once again, don't worry about that at all. And then hard light shield rounds out your shield. So this is your loadout right here for basically most situations. If you're going to be in a boss fight without any ads, you can drop without mercy. It's not required. Then you're running an extra shield. So this would be more for like elite situations. This is going to be overkill for reg. So the advantage here is because you don't really need any CC moves. You don't need any healing moves like Ire or anything like that. It's not beneficial because you take back 85% of the heal damage you take, and then you get heals obviously from a healer, and then you're canceling that rage, not taking any damage. So really what you have to watch out for is because the enrage mechanic only lasts 8 seconds, and this is a 12-second cooldown. So for those 4 seconds, you're susceptible to a lot of damage because you're not in that rage mode. And that's why you take as many shields as you can to supplement that. So basically, once I've rage crashed, then I would go into my shield. I'd survive for a few seconds, then I can go back into rage mode. Then once I cancel that, then I can go into hard light shield. Once again, survive for hard light shield until I've got severe punishment back up. Then I can go back into it. Then pretty much at that point, redirect your rage would be back up. Or if I, for some reason, I proc manacles, I would get it back. Or for some reason, if I have both those shields on cooldown, then I can hit dash attack. So that's just an, I'll show you in the rotation example, but that's essentially how it goes. So really, rage is just two different loadouts. There are be situations where you take ire. I personally don't recommend that. The only reason you take ire is if you have like bad latency issues. All ire is going to do. Am I in combat? No. All ire is going to do is basically give you breakout immunity, just like your breakout trinket, so you can hit cancel correctly. But that's all it is. I mean, the sole purpose of ire would only be to use it so you can break out every other time using severe punishment. But that's why you have a breakout trinket, and that's why you can obviously just break out yourself. I mean, if you're stunned or crowd controlled by an NPC or a boss, I mean, you can break out yourself just fine. So just get in the habit of breaking out on command and not just leaving it. But there's no point of taking a power for the sole purpose of breaking out when it's not required. So I know some tanks run ire. Most of them are PlayStation tanks. Maybe on the Switch it's more required. But I mean, I'm not going to take a power that isn't going to help me because a group breakout's not really required. The healing is going to be inconsequential. Sorry. So I'd much rather take an actual shield that's going to actually benefit me greatly. So that's why I would take that in like a boss situation. Or if I'm running any kind of situation with ads, I wouldn't even have that anyway because I would have without mercy. Okay, so in terms of the scar tissue mechanic, we can go back on the touch on this. I did incorrectly say it was a 13 hit counter earlier in the video. I did put annotations on the screen to say it's 15 hit counter. It actually is 15 hit counter, not 13. But what that means is as your combo meter increases, gain health equal to a percentage of your dominance up to a maximum of 50%. So what that means is as your combo meter goes up, so right now my base health is 305, 367. So as my combo meter goes up, we'll just get like a 7-hit counter. You'll see here, 323, 988. Say if I went up to like 10. Now it's going to be 330, 196. And if we went up to the max, 15. I'm going to be 336, 404. So that's going to be the maximum health that I can get. Now, for example, if I went to like a 20 hit counter, it's always going to be remaining the same. So it'll cap out. So we're at a 20. Still going to be 336, 404. So that's how the scar tissue mechanic works itself. So which is not hard because you're hitting Ragebringer. I mean, you can do your one-hit combos. You do your flip slash combo, whatever, clip with Ragebringer. It's not that hard to maintain it. Pull them together with Without Mercy. Do your one-handed. You can also do like Flurry, which will be easy to get up there. So it gets me right up. So for example, we'll start at 0 again. So as long as the ads aren't blocking, because Flurry is going to be vulnerable to block. So right there, I'm already at 9-hit. After one Flurry combo clip with a pull, I'm at 9-hit counter. So it's very easy to keep that 15-hit counter. You just want to make sure you maintain that, at least for your highest health potential. But that's essentially how scar tissue works. So now let's jump into and show you some actual rotation examples. Okay, so I want to show Rage Crash. I turned up my effects slightly. Hopefully it's not too obnoxious. I just want to be able to hear the heartbeat. So basically, what I'm looking for is when you're in Severe, there's two ways. Either you can listen to this heartbeat, get faster and faster, and then cancel right before it expires, or you just wait for the cooldown. So Severe Punishment would pop, get ready to break out right about now. It's going to reach 6 o'clock, 7, cancel. So it's basically about 9 o'clock you crash, so you want to hit it around 8 o'clock. And that's just basically on the cooldown timer. So those are basically the two ways you could watch it. So this is what it's going to look like here. So first I'm gonna crash. So boom. You just saw myself take that 79k damage. Go back into it. He didn't really hit me here, but cancel. No damage taken, but he didn't really hit me at all. Go back into it. Get ready to break out. Cancel. No damage taken. And then, like I said before, you're popping your shields just to give you that extra survivability for those 4 seconds until you can hit Rage again. So heartbeat's getting faster. Cancel. No damage taken. So I'm kind of low in health here, so let's get back up. Don't do it here. 7, 8, cancel. And that was a good example there. I was stunned. I didn't need to hit Ire, didn't hit your Breakout Trinket. I just broke out myself. So there's no point in taking a power just for that. And cancel. So that's what you're getting used to. And say, for example, I guess I could show you the example what it would look like if I canceled early and hit Eviscerating. Too early, I can still hit Eviscerating and still catch it. So it'd be helpful if Doomsday actually decided to attack me. Can you actually hit me, please? So I canceled too early, hit Eviscerating. So it buys me an extra couple seconds, but for example, if Doomsday blocked, I would have got knocked on my butt. So let's show you with a multi-ad situation now. Okay, so a situation with 8 Rage with ads. Let's pull the ads here. Get these ones over here as well. Make sure you're canceling. Without Mercy can pull them in. Without Mercy will be a knock-up. And then once they're up with Without Mercy, you can hit your Chromatic Emitter to stun them there. Buys you some more time, making sure you cancel. And then if you need to hit Redirect Your Rage to buy those extra 4 seconds. always clipping into severe punishment. Like I said, without mercy, stunning them, making sure you cancel. That's all it's going to be. So I'm not sure if I can drag this far set here too. The more the merrier. So I know this isn't like a perfect example of taking damage, but making sure when you're pulling ads, just the primary thing you have to worry about is making sure you're always in severe. And then remembering that you always have to cancel. So it doesn't matter the situation, making sure you're still canceling. So I can go back into severe. Like I said before, I can hit without mercy. That'll juggle them. Once they stand back up, I can hit command emitter. Allows me time to cancel. Then I can go back and redirect the rage. Take a sword if I have to for power. Back in severe. That's all it is. So I know this isn't perfect because these ads, there's no way these ads can kill me. But I mean, this is essentially what regular content is going to be. At that point, I could do flurry, get my combo meter up. So even after one combo, I'm almost at 11. Now I'm at 20. So just by doing 2 flurries and hitting without mercy, I'm already at a 20 hit count, which is going to be already well past what I need, being at 15. And that's all rage is going to be. So rage is basically just mastering canceling. So making sure you're breaking out on time, making sure you're not watching your loadout bar just to watch for that 75%. You want to get out of that habit. I mean, you can turn the heartbeat up if you want, but then that kind of gets a little bit annoying, listening to a heartbeat the entire raid. But that's all it is. Once you can cancel a second nature, that's your primary thing is rage. Everything else is just countering properly, making sure you have survivability. So that's why if you don't need without mercy on like a boss fight, you've got 3 shields, so you've got plenty of opportunity to make sure that you're can survive here, because it's very hard for a rage tank to die while in rage mode. So it's never going to happen in regular content. In elite, it's going to happen in certain situations, just like say you got block broken or something like that, or obviously rage crash. But it's very difficult for a tank to die in a rage just because of their health pool, because of how fast the healing they get back, and then with the healing from the outside healing or healers as well. So once you master in that severe and surviving without those 4 seconds difference, because you can certainly die when you're out of severe, so that's for sure. In those 4 seconds before you can hit severe again, you can definitely die, and then if your health is low going back into severe, then your health pool is lower, and then you can die in that situation. So that's all rage is. Once you get used to it, it becomes second nature. So there it is, guys.